Hi everyone, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I am back with another energetically channeled missing person video. Now I'm filming this video on September 30th of 2022 to honor the day and raise the vibration that this particular young woman went missing on this exact day in 2013. And I want everybody to kind of get a glimpse, focus on this young woman, and see if we can't find out what happened to her through the combination of our energy rising and focusing on a good outcome for information to be presented. I feel the impetus to do this is very strong right now, between now and November. I feel that information will come forward that will allow us to know what happened to Caitlyn. I'm talking about a young woman named Caitlyn Avril Murray, who went missing on September 30th of 2013, approximately 11:30 to 11:45 p.m. from the Fraser Hotel off of the Fraser River Footbridge in Quesnel, British Columbia. Now, Caitlyn was spotted on security camera outside of the hotel where she parked her car in the parking lot. And the security camera caught her pulling up, parking, shutting her doors, getting out of the car. It looks like she has keys and a cell phone, no purse. She's wearing a hoodie. She's crossing the parking lot. She's crossing the street, and she's headed through the west side of the Fraser River Footbridge in West Quesnel, British Columbia. Now, this footbridge is used to cross from one side to the other, obviously, of the Fraser River. So Caitlyn is spotted again on the camera at the beginning of this bridge, and she crosses over the bridge from the beginning. In the middle of the bridge, they also have a camera, but this camera mysteriously doesn't work on the day that Caitlyn is missing. They have no camera footage from the middle of this bridge. I always say how convenient that every time somebody goes missing, that there's a camera that's not working at the exact moment that that person went missing. So what they do to us is they try to frighten us with cameras. Everybody's got cameras, they're all working. I'm here to say they're not all working because we don't know what happened to this young woman. Now, a little bit of backstory on Caitlyn, which I found interesting because I could find not much information on Caitlyn. There's not much on the internet. This young woman has been missing since she was 21 years old, September 30th of 2013. Her birthday is September 22nd of 1992, which means she just had another birthday and she would be 30 years old. No one has seen Caitlyn. No one has seen her car keys. No one has seen her cell phone. No one has found her body, seen her hoodie, seen her leggings, seen her shoes, her socks, her necklace, her rings, nothing. Nothing has been found of this young woman. Not one thing. And if you're like me, you kind of understand that people don't just go missing for no reason. Like, they're not missing. They haven't been, beamed into a different dimension where we can't see them. There is always somebody who is aware of what went on. And I felt it so important in the last 5 months that people need to start saying Caitlyn's name in her neighborhood. Her friends need to tell the story that they know. Her boyfriend needs to come forward and say what he knows. People need to get involved because what they're saying happened to Caitlyn and the way that they describe it is not backed up by any evidence whatsoever. It's all just speculation because nobody knows what happened to her. They cannot say definitively, I saw her jump off the the Fraser River Bridge, west side of Quesnel, British Columbia. I saw her jump and end in the river, because if you saw Caitlyn jump off that bridge, which the RCMP in Quesnel, British Columbia are alleging, then somebody had to report her jumping off the bridge. And in which case, if you were the person that reported sighting a person jumping off a bridge, landing a couple hundred feet below in a river, probably hitting their body like cement on the water, which they say, you would immediately phone somebody, police, ambulance, hotel clerk desk. You'd be running if you didn't have a cell phone to say, I just saw someone jump in. And within 2 hours, you would have emergency services scouring that river and finding the body, because it would not get very far. Every time somebody jumps off of the Fraser River Bridge, or any bridge for that matter, once somebody reports it, they're pretty much found, at least within the first week, because the body, it can move, and they know how fast the river moves, so they kind of know where to catch the body if the person's dead, right? So in Caitlyn's case, there's been no body, shoes, clothing, jewelry, cell phone, car keys. Where are these things? Now, all rivers have dams, have, vegetation, especially in Canada. There's probably logging, there's beaver dams, there's all kinds of things that go on in rivers. There's rocks, there's rapids, there's all kinds of things. I don't know the layout of this particular lake, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that happens in this lake, and a lot of different turns and a lot of different areas where a body could get stuck. One thing I do know about growing up in Canada, because I grew up and am Canadian, I do know that there's things that the teenage kids do in every neighborhood in the rural areas, and probably even in the big cities like Vancouver and Toronto. They travel further into a rural area to have what's called these bush parties. And bush parties are where groups of kids hang out, they smoke their weed, drink, listen to their music, hop on the trunks of cars, kind of like a party in the middle of nowhere. These kids are usually the people that find the items washed up along the banks of the river, because so many people go to the river. There's people that fish, there's people that get high, there's people that do bush parties, there's people that just walk along the river taking pictures, there's people that fish, there's all kinds of people. There's summer and there's winter in Canada. Bodies freeze, water moves, bodies go down, they freeze, they get caught on things. Why have we not found Caitlyn if she jumped? But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself right now. So as I was looking for information about Caitlyn, I could find nothing. Like literally nothing. Not very much to make this case a missing person case. And the fact that it had to be pushed by the mother Carmen Carr to get this to be a missing person case is outrageous. I want to explain something. As people in this world, human beings, we're in societies where we pay taxes to quote the authorities, whether it be the RCMP, the American Police Department. We pay taxes. When somebody goes missing and has been missing this long without conversation to their family, you kind of owe it through your work, through the money that you get paid because you're public servants, to help the family find out what happened, because something happened. That girl wouldn't leave her family. This is not in her character. It's not in her character. So what happened to Caitlyn Murray? What happened to her? This is what we're going to try to figure out energetically. I wrote down a lot of information, but I want to give you the backstory of Caitlyn first, leading up to September 30th of 2013 when she went missing. So the backstory of Caitlyn is very interesting. As I said, Caitlyn had just turned 21. She had just finished school as a health aide and was currently at that time working at a group home to help people. Okay, so she was a very empathic, helpful, sweet soul. Now, when I looked at her chart, she had an array of things that made her stubborn as hell, fiery as anything, emotionally connecting to the people around her, and possibly because of the Pluto in the 5th house squaring the moon in her chart, very, very, very susceptible to violence. She also had other squares to her sun and to Mars, making these aspects for men in her life to trigger, have addictions, and cause a lot of anguish to her as she chose to live her life. A little bit of backstory on Caitlyn leading up to the day she went missing, September 30th of 2013, just after this sweet girl turned 21. Now, Caitlyn is a very petite young woman. She's 5 feet tall. She's got blue eyes. She's got long blonde hair. She's very petite. She's darling cute. She's assertive. She's strong-willed. She's super empathic. She's psychic. She speaks her mind. And she had recently, for the past 2 years prior, two and a half years prior to her missing, she had lived with her boyfriend. Now, her boyfriend's name is Tony Cole. And Caitlyn and Tony had an extremely toxic, unhealthy, violent relationship. Caitlyn told her family about this relationship, was afraid of being threatened and kicked and punched and all of these things that she describes to her family and friends in her life. And she made a choice to file charges for assault against Tony. Now, this is going on prior to her ending the relationship the week before she went missing. So Caitlyn and Tony lived together, I believe, in Tony's family's home. So they either took the bottom suite, the top suite. In Canada, a lot of that goes on. 3-level houses, that kind of thing. Tony and Caitlyn lived together, and there were a lot of issues for Caitlyn. She was miserable and afraid for her life. You just saw the camera do, ooh, look at that. See, the room is filling up with people. As I'm speaking about Caitlyn, I'm seeing people, look at that shit. I'm seeing people step forward, step forward, step forward, right by my front door, moving forward. What I see when I see that is I kind of get like the outline of people, and they're all kind of standing here. Now, this is interesting because I don't think necessarily it has to do specifically with Caitlyn. I think it has more to do with the groups of people in Caitlyn's situation. Okay, so look at this camera. You see that? It's just, hold on, I'm gonna come up. There, sometimes I have to do that when it does this. Can you see? Am I blurry? I might have to stop and start it. I think I'm blurry. I'm gonna stop and start it again. This happens when I'm speaking to people on the other side, when I'm speaking to people who come for people that are on this side, and there's a group of people in my room at the moment, which sounds, in my studio, which sounds really weird, but I can feel, I'm getting ice cold, and I can feel the room fill up with the energy. So we're talking about something local to that area. I believe that that's where these people are from. They're kind of staring at me like they're listening to the story and they want to know what happened. So they have their stories and Caitlyn has her stories. I'm gonna be right back. I'm switching this. I'm back, you guys. I got the camera straightened out. Okay, so the backstory of Caitlyn is the week prior to her going missing, she files charges, assault, presses charges, whatever, however they word that, against her boyfriend for the violent, toxic relationship that she's in. She expresses to her mother and other family members and friends that she's afraid for her life. She loves her boyfriend, but she doesn't want to be intimidated, have fists, raised to her, and be kicked. She mentions being kicked in the head prior to leaving the house. Problem is, when she left, she kind of just left. She left her possessions at the boyfriend's house, at Tony Cole's house. So she asked her mother, Carmen, on the 28th of September to go retrieve, this is 2 days before she goes missing, go and retrieve my possessions. Now, Carmen, after talking to Carmen, is a lovely, fiery, beautiful woman who wants the truth about her daughter, like any mother would. All you mothers out there with missing, exploited, murdered, accidentally died, overdosed, kids that you cannot hug, want to know what happened to your children. This is why I have such a hard time with parents in neighborhoods where these kids go missing who know even a smidgen of information will not bring it forth because they don't want to cause problems. If it were your child, you would want to know what happens. Her daughter has been missing since 2013. So Carmen, on the 28th of September of 2013, she goes over to the Coles household. She requests her daughter's possessions. And I guess the whole family is out there. They give her Caitlyn's stuff, and Caitlyn is waiting in a different location. So Carmen goes to meet Caitlyn with her possessions. Caitlyn did not feel comfortable going there. Now that we've learned about trauma bonds, we understand the energetic pull to go back to a person who abuses you because you love them. That's the truth. You love somebody, and it's really unfair that you have to leave a relationship because they can't control themselves. This is how I feel about it. Anyway, Caitlyn becomes irrationally freaked out by whatever it is that Carmen said to the family or how she spoke to the family, and starts saying, "You've done it now." Something along the lines of, "I'm going to end up dead." So she starts getting afraid for her life and then says, "I know too much. I know too much," and becomes extremely agitated. Carmen is kind of shocked by this because she doesn't understand the response exactly, and she tries to calm her daughter down. So her daughter is going back to her friend's house, a friend named Bailey Hornfeld. And Bailey's the one that took Caitlyn in after she left the boyfriend. So Caitlyn had nowhere to go. She could have gone back home, but she wanted to kind of, she's 21, she wants to strike out on her own. So she goes to Bailey's trailer. And this is somewhere close. I'm just going to say Quesnel, British Columbia. I don't know if it's west or east or what side it is, but Bailey has a trailer. Caitlyn goes there, takes her stuff, and basically, you know, couch surfs at Bailey's. Now, out of the mouth of Bailey, who spoke to Caitlyn on the day that Caitlyn went missing, Bailey says prior to Caitlyn leaving the trailer and going wherever she was going, she asked Bailey if she could borrow her leggings. Not just any pair of leggings, a pair of Lululemon leggings. So Bailey gives Caitlyn the leggings to wear. And Caitlyn's wearing these black leggings. She has a blue hoodie on, navy, I believe a dark hoodie, but it's blue. And she takes her cell phone and her keys and she heads out somewhere. I'm going to say it's approximately 10:30. I believe they catch her on the hotel parking structure sometime between, we'll just say 11:15 and 11:45. So we know that she's probably getting ready. She's going somewhere, right? So Bailey repeats that Caitlyn had told her she was suicidal before she left. This is what Bailey says. So Bailey is the one witness to that conversation, I believe. And Caitlyn leaves. She's got the Lululemon leggings on. She's leaving. I do find it odd that you would lend somebody your best leggings. Those leggings are like $100 a pair, and more in Canada, even though it's a Canadian company. But I find it interesting that if you were that concerned for her mental health, like why you're going to give her like your good leggings. I don't know. That was a little bit unusual, but maybe she wasn't concerned for her mental health to the degree that would imply. Okay, so maybe somebody's just letting off steam, venting. And I suspect Caitlyn hadn't done her laundry since she was in the process of leaving the boyfriend's house in between and couch surfing, trailer surfing. She probably hadn't done her laundry, so she probably did need something to wear. Remember when you were 21, you weren't out doing the laundry all the time. So Caitlyn heads in her car, and that's where we pick up at the hotel, the Fraser River Hotel that she's at. I had to write all these names down because I can never remember the names of the hotels. It should be easy. It's the Fraser Inn Hotel, okay, in West Quesnel, British Columbia. And then there's the Fraser River Bridge. It's a footbridge. It's a historical site in the area. And in the daytime, it's probably really lovely. I looked at pictures. You all should go Google it. It's one of those lovely bridges that's very rural, and it's like you would see all over the country if you were driving, where people got to get across a big bridge, and it's beautiful, and there's like the thick grass below and the water, and it looks really pretty in the lights, all of that. However, at night, it can be quite a different thing. So when it hits dark, it can be your drugs, your parties, your gangsters, your whatever goes on in the neighborhood, in your little neighborhood, in your neck of the woods. So Caitlyn is seen entering, as I said, the west side of that bridge. She's caught on the camera, so that's verifiable. It's just we don't know what happened after. Now I'm going to say what the police said, and then I'm going to tell you what I got intuitively about the situation. The RCMP in Canada, speculatively, basically determined that she jumped off the Fraser River footbridge and committed suicide. Now that's one theory, and it could be plausible. She'd been through a lot of emotional stress. But here's what I'm going to ask you. For you to come to that conclusion as an RCMP police officer, who told you that? You can't just arbitrarily say she committed suicide. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? And if in fact she did do what you are saying she did, why is it the RCMP, the air services, search and rescue, and every volunteer in the area kind of walked up and down that river looking for a body? Why did they find nothing? Not a floating jacket, not a keys, not hair caught on a rock, on a log, on a beaver dam, on a logging camp. Why? How far down the river did she get in that brief amount of time? And who alerted you to the fact that this girl was missing? Because Carmen, the mother, was not contacted for 18 hours. So in the interim, prior to that 18 hours, who notified the RCMP? Who is that caller saying that this girl jumped off the bridge and just disappeared? And we have yet to find her body. Nobody has found her body. But yet they continue to verbalize that it is a suicide. I have a problem with that. I'm just, as a human being with an intellect, I have a problem. You can't just say it's suicide. There's no body. And if it is a suicide and somebody, like, when you look at other bridges that people jump off, the Golden Gate Bridge, for example, people report people jumping off the bridge. So where is the witness that reported this? And if they did report it, where is the body? Because they would have reported it almost instantaneously. They would have either run across the street to the hotel if they didn't have a cell phone, got on their cell phone, had somebody run across while they kept an eye on her in case she survived the fall of a couple of 100 feet, hitting the water like cement. They would have done these things. And the police would have been there within, I've got to say, a half an hour. I don't know how far it is. I don't know location-wise how far. But I'm going to assume the police would have been there within a half an hour. So her body wasn't going to get that far down the river unless there was some kind of wild current on that day. And that's easily verifiable and checkable because they'll tell you about the weather, the wind, the water current. These are all documented these days. So I actually want to know where, I'm curious if the RCMP has an answer for that. Now, I've got all my papers here, and I apologize for this because there were so many names and things I had to write down. So I wanted to write down the first officer that took the case. And of course, I cannot pronounce his name. I had a very hard time pronouncing Quesnel, British Columbia. It's spelt kind of weird to me, and my brain doesn't actualize it. So this name is, and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say this is Officer, I'm gonna say his name. His first name is Marcus. This is in 2013. His first name is Marcus. And you spell the last name P-F-A-M-M-A-T-E-R. Fameter. Marcus Fameter. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. I'm unfamiliar with the name. So Marcus, Officer Fameter, I'll just say Officer Marcus. It's easier for me to say. He basically aligns with the idea that Caitlyn jumped off the bridge, even though they can find no evidence. No one saw her jump off the bridge. The cameras are mysteriously out, as they always are in these circumstances. And we have no evidence of any such thing happening. But what we do know for sure, is the assault charges were dropped because Caitlyn couldn't show up in court. We do know that. So that's interesting, isn't it? All right, so Officer Marcus is basically telling the family it's suicide. Now, we don't all know our kids. Like, as I said, when my Keithy died, I did know him. I do know his temperament. There were certain things I didn't know he was doing, but I do know if my child would do that or not. I had enough awareness. I was pretty on top of that kid. Carmen is the same kind of mother. She was pretty on top of her daughter, okay? Didn't approve of everything, kind of knew who her daughter was, happy to speak about her daughter, but knew the reality of her daughter, not delusional. And because a mother looks for a child, okay, because a mother looks for a child and demands answers, does not make her crazy. And if she's taking Valium to sleep or she's acting, agitated, it's because her child is missing. Put yourself in the situation and come back and talk to that mother with the idea that the only thing in this life that she loves cannot be found on planet Earth. Put yourself in that position as an authority figure, as a police officer, as an RCMP. The more that Carmen pushed the police department for another alternative to suicide, the more backlash she got from the police department. And I also find that interesting. That's been an experience with many a missing, murdered, and weirdly run off the road kind of dead child scenario, okay? This is a scenario that happens all over the country and many different countries. Some countries are worse. You're never going to find out what happened to your kid. But in Canada and America, I expect that the police be on top of things and know that someone's not going to swallow what they say when it goes against their very gut instinct. And as a mother and a father, and as a person, sibling, you're going to have gut instincts towards what happened to your daughter, sister, brother, cousin. You're going to know, okay? They don't just disappear. So the more that Carmen pushed up a fuss, the more backlash she got. The family of the boyfriend, no conversation. Pushed away. Why would you push away when a child goes missing? Ask yourself that. Your daughter lived in that house. Why are you not comforting this family? What is wrong with you? Even if your son is a dick, why are you not comforting the family? You can acknowledge, yeah, very toxic relationship. And the truth is, in all toxic relationships, there's a person and a person who responds to it. So it can seem toxic on both ends. You can get over that, and you can help the family of the missing woman that lived in your house for 2 years. I'm just saying, that's how I feel, but not everybody thinks the same. And they may have tried to help in the beginning, but right now, it's cold. There's no conversation. And Carmen is kind of looked at like she shouldn't be still pursuing this. Who does not pursue a missing child? That's ridiculous. And no, the truth needs to come out, whatever the truth is. Now, what's even more interesting about this is about 3 years ago, another officer, RCMP, took over the case and was kind of confused as to how the case was handled, because it was kind of handled in a very unusual way. Just to assume suicide and there's no evidence. Like, where's the evidence? Like, you just get to say that. So like, I can go into the police department, missing person, and just say, yeah, they jumped off of the roof. No body, no nothing. Nothing. Just nothing. Okay. So the new officer, approximately 3 years ago, to take the case over, name is Robert, and it's Kalman with a K. Kalman. So you probably, if you have information, should call Robert Kalman. I'm going to leave all the information underneath of the police department, the RCMP, the names, who's handling it. I'm going to leave the PI's name, Bobbi Bacha, Blue Moon Investigations. I'm going to leave her name so you can talk to her. She can take your tips, and she can preserve evidence. She's qualified to do that for court, for trial, for things like that. So getting back to the backstory of Caitlyn, I do find it interesting. It's very typical that when abused women of any age leave a relationship, a marriage, etc., they are the ones that end up missing, disappeared, dead, offed, removed, whatever. Okay, so that's all we know about Caitlyn. Again, she hit the hotel parking lot. She parked. Okay, she parked in the hotel. It is the Fraser Inn Hotel in West Quesnel, British Columbia. She went on the Fraser River footbridge, historical site. She's caught on the camera. It appears to be she's talking on a phone. She's walking across the bridge. She has purpose. Did she just deviate and jump right off the bridge? Like, I'm going to go there. So now I'm going to get into the intuitive part of what I've been feeling, because I've had a thing that I call psychic Tourette's. When something keeps hitting my head like this, like I've got to say it. I've blurted out like I have Tourette's, and it bothers the shit out of people. I just get it, and I can't stop saying it. So I really felt it's important to bring up Caitlyn's name. Caitlyn Avril Murray. Like, I'm not even joking you. So important that I've been fixated on it ever since I found out about it, which it's odd because all of us psychic types tend to look through missing person cases, and I never found Caitlyn had I not met her mother via the phone looking for information on her daughter. So her mother, Carmen, had called me and had spoken to me and spoken to Deanna, and then we got her in touch with Bobbi. That's how this happened. So there is a circle of people working on this information for Caitlyn to be found, okay? So when we're looking at it, we all come at it from our different perspectives. And I'm going to tell you what I get on Caitlyn. So this is the intuitive part of that information. Okay, so now to what I pick up energetically, strictly energetically, nothing I've heard, nothing I've sensed. This is what happens to me. My body will start responding to things. When people say things to me, and it could be as easy as I'm in the grocery store and somebody says, oh, I have 2 dogs. And my body will react to that. Like, maybe you're lying about having 2 dogs. And I get this like Tourette's in my head where I got to start bugging them. Show me pictures of your dogs. Let me see where your dogs are. This is what happened with Caitlyn. And I'm bringing up dogs because immediately as I focus on Caitlyn's energy, in my eye line, right in my vision. It's like I get little snippets that play like old movie tape, and just little images flash in my head. Like I'll be looking at the wall and I'll see an image. It'll come through my head. Or I'll get the impression of a movie with that image. Or I'll get a person's, you know, circumstance in their relationship that I already know of to let me know it's about this person. Okay, somebody I'm not even thinking of. So the very first thing. Okay, now this is the intuitive impressions or the energy that I read around Caitlyn's missing situation. The date again is September 30th of 2013, approximately 11:15 p.m. to 11:45. At least the cameras can track the time during that time, but allegedly around that time. So the energy that I picked up on with Caitlyn immediately is that as she walks onto the bridge, she is going to talk to somebody about her relationship. I actually believe it to be the boyfriend. I believe that she's trying to go backwards. I don't think that that's a good choice, but I believe that that's what she was doing. There are several other people on the bridge. I get a total of 3. I can't really see them, but I feel 3 of them. And as I'm watching in my mind, walking down the bridge through the eyes of the energy, okay, so I'm focused on that. I'm literally seeing that where the camera is broken, I don't think these people broke the camera. I think they're aware that that camera doesn't work. Sometimes there's cameras in certain neighborhoods because people break in and they do this and that and the other, or they hear from other people that run the camera system. They're aware of cameras not working. So that's why I feel whatever happened in that particular part of the bridge, because they knew the camera was not actively working at that time. Now, what would be an interesting thing to research, point of reference, would be to find out who handles the maintenance on those cameras and go talk to the people and look in the books to see who was doing it at that particular time, and if anybody affiliated with Caitlyn's disappearance, family, friend, anybody that she knew was communicating with the person and the camera, or if they were friends with them, because it's very easy to say like that stupid camera never works. We've all said stuff like that, like, oh, I have a key lock and it doesn't work. I feel like the 3 people on the bridge knew that the camera didn't work. Now, Caitlyn is going to communicate. I don't feel she's suicidal. What I feel actually at the point of Caitlyn's death, and I literally got this last night as I was looking at her chart and looking at the transits at the time that she disappeared, I feel like Caitlyn was pregnant at the time that she disappeared. Newly pregnant, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever, not showing pregnant, but missing your period pregnant. And I feel like she was freaked out. She might have just recently found out. I literally feel like this little girl was pregnant at the point that she disappeared, okay? I don't know what happened at that point, and I don't feel she jumped off the bridge. Now, it is possible someone saw her jump off the bridge, and in which case they should come forward, but I don't feel that happened. She could have been thrown off the bridge, in which case that would be murder and somebody could step forward. But I don't feel that that's what happened. I feel like Caitlyn ran and crouched down around the edge of the bridge. Now, I feel it has to be off the other side of the bridge, and I don't know how long this bridge is, like in its proximity to cross from one side to the other, but I'm assuming it's not like 5 miles across. But I feel like as the conversation continued, there's the pillars of where the bridge is cemented into the side of the hill or wherever it's secured to. I feel like she crossed down, and I can see her kind of crouched down and looking up. She's hiding. Okay, like looking up, crouched down, very tiny, and kind of in a little enclave to where the roots of the bridge are. So however they secure it to the ground, she's around there. And from there, I get extremely dizzy. I don't know if she was hit on the side of the head or something happened to the side of her head, or she was just like dizzy, nauseous, and uncomfortable. Pregnancy comes to mind with that, because when you're pregnant in the beginning stages, you're like, ugh, you don't feel well, right? So I feel like there's a combination. I also feel like she may have been slightly under the influence of something at that time, but something that she wasn't familiar with. So under the influence of something that was not a normal thing for her. So I don't know if she took something to get rid of the headache she had and it didn't hit her right. But there's a combination of things going on with her. And then things go very, very quiet. My eyes roll back in my head and I don't know what happened at that point. I don't know. But the energy that I feel, and I can't see if someone picked her up, but I feel I hit the water. I am in the water. I'm around the side. Okay. So she's in the water at this point. And someone's pulling her out of the water. So I do feel she got in the river, but not the way they say. I feel like she ran down, ran around, and curved in underneath like the things under the bridge. I have to look up what you call that. The way the bridge is secured, as I've said. Then the next thing I see very vividly with the energy, and I kind of felt it, and I call them devil dogs when I say this. In those movies where you see these chain link fences and you see a dog with a huge thick studded collar and he's a big dog and like I don't know, somebody in the movie is always walking along the side of the fence and this freaking big dog comes out with his teeth gnarling and just like the snout's right at the fence and you're like, oh shit, this dog's gonna come right through the fence. So that is the imagery I get in my head. And the front of the dog's face, it's not like a Rottweiler. It could be, but it's not. It's more along the lines of a dog, very big dog though, but like a police dog. So like a German Shepherd, something along those lines. I'm seeing that face, but it's trained spot on to attack because it reminds me of those movies, the Halloween, all those movies where the dogs are chained and they're just out in the middle of wherever. And if you approach the chain link fence, God help you, because that dog will come within an inch of your face and even through the fence to get at your ass. I see that happening. And as I'm seeing that happening, I'm hearing somebody sing. But what's interesting is the singing is going to a different part of the world. This is a woman singing, I don't know how old, but she's cooking and she's singing and I can kind of sense smells. I don't know what she has to do with this. She could be somebody related to Caitlyn or some holiday that was coming up, or it could even be the boyfriend's mother, but this woman strikes me as somebody who's slightly older person. And I get a connection actually weirdly to Germany. Okay. So I'm over here and I want to go to Germany. I don't know why I want to go to Germany, but I'm all over the place with this feeling. And there's food cooking and there's like yummy sugar smells. And there's like this lady is humming and singing. So my mind is focused on who is this lady? I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know. I just get the impression of this. Somebody loves to cook and they love to cook like baked goods, pies, cakes, all of that kind of thing. They like to do that. So when I'm feeling the energy of the dog and that, I'm immediately thrown over to Germany and like all throughout that area, like Finland, Sweden, Norway, Germany. I'm over there. I'm hitting that part of the world. But what's interesting is the next thing that I feel is I'm like, ouch, on my arm. Okay. So as I'm feeling the energy, I'm like, oh my God, that feels like a burn on my arm. And I'm like, what is why are you showing me this? Like, I'm trying to figure out what it is. A burn on the arm. And just figure this. Obviously, I now at late stage in life got a tattoo, on my arm. So it hurts, right? And it can feel like a burning sensation when they keep digging, because this was like 6 hours and I was like, oh my God. Anyhow, I feel like a burn, and it's not a tattoo burn. I first went to tattoo in my head. There is some connection to tattooing, marking the body with ink. I don't know if it's to get rid of a tattoo or to brand like an animal, brand, stamp, brand, ouch, hot, brand. So I'm immediately feeling like Caitlyn was picked up, targeted, and sold. And I'm being serious when I say that. I know, but I'm being serious. I get brand. I'm branded. So I'm thinking like cattle are branded. So then you know which farm, like they just stick those letters there. So you know which farmhouse, must hurt the cows. Anyway, you know which farmhouse that these animals belong to, or which farm, or which ranch, or whatever. I feel like Caitlyn was branded. I immediately am crisscrossing all over the United States. Caitlyn went missing from the west side. So British Columbia, Vancouver, British Columbia, Quesnel, they're all in British Columbia. The Rockies are adjacent latitude and longitude to California. Okay, so the West Coast is the West Coast. Toronto, incidentally, where Caitlyn was born, is adjacent to New York, all up and down the East Coast, same latitude and longitude. You can be born in California and you can be born in British Columbia, and you can carry seconds off of the same timing on your sun sign because it's the same line. The same goes for Toronto and New York. And since Caitlyn is from the East Coast, East Toronto Hospital is where she was born. She was born in Toronto. And then her mom family moved to the west side. I mean, Western Canada, BC. Caitlyn would blend on the East Coast, even though she's from now the West Coast. She blends over there. So I feel a connection over there. We've got Boston, we've got New Hampshire, we've got New England, we've got New York, we've got water transport, we've got packing companies, we've got airlines, we've got all kinds of things going all over, moving these girls around. For some reason, I'm hooking into a trafficking of human beings, people, females. I'm hooking into a trafficking energy with Caitlyn. There's some kind of movement of a product that isn't legal, connected to her disappearance. I don't know if this is, who she was talking to, the boyfriend's family, the people in her immediate environment, people that she knew. I don't know who it is, but it's not the way it happened. So there's trafficking going all around this. I don't know if Caitlyn's disappearance is a marker for that trafficking, because my house is still full of people stepping forward who I feel have passed over due to similar circumstances. And when I look at the energy around Caitlyn, I really can't pick it up on the other side. And there's only one of two reasons for that. A, she's not dead, she's missing. And B, if she has passed away, I'm not feeling it's dead because she's not in a place where she is dead. That sounds weird. So that's a dimensional thing. I just can't pick the energy up and say with certainty. Sometimes I know when the person has passed. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. I don't feel this way with Caitlyn. There's a huge block around the energy what happened. Everybody's mouths are shut. There are people that know in the immediate environment what they think happened that night, and it's still not what happened. So people talk, people know. People hear little bits and pieces. They always say where there's smoke, there's fire. And I actually believe this, because a lot of times we hear things and like 30 years later, we're going to hear that, oh shit, that person was doing that. So I feel like people in Caitlyn's neighborhood in Quesnel, British Columbia, know this is Caitlyn's friend. This could be her roommate, Bailey. This could be her boyfriend, Tony. Why are these families and why are the people that knew this child not speaking? Because some of y'all know what happened, okay? You do. You know what happened. I am convinced that you know what happened. In fact, that's a big yes, you know what happened. Now, I don't know exactly why the trafficking is coinciding with what happened to Caitlyn when she's missing, because I just don't know. So the police, I don't know if that's a huge trafficking area or if people just go missing for no reason. I know BC, there are a lot of missing things, and I know trafficking goes on all over the world, obviously. We hear about this with the John of God things and all of that. I mean, it's not uncommon that this happens. But why now when I'm speaking about Caitlyn am I getting this? And who the hell is the woman who's like baking and cooking pies and baking and smelling things and doing all of that kind of thing? Why is that coming into my head? So there are people and relatives of other people who, to me, the woman cooking is overlooking and deluded about what's going on in her immediate environment. This could be with her husband, this could be with her kids, this could be with her in-laws, but she is not paying attention, but she knows. That's what the humming is about. It's very clear to me that when she's humming, she knows. So what does she know? I don't even know who she is. Anyway, my instinct with Caitlyn is that information is going to come to the surface by this November of 2022. And I'm 100% convinced that people should be talking about this. You know what happened to her. I am hearing those words in my head. So that's what I'm hearing. But the energy around Caitlyn, I don't know if she's being held somewhere where they would have a guard dog outside, or if she's being... I don't know what happened to the pregnancy and that baby. Babies are marketable money, even on the adoption market, where parents pay $50,000, $100,000 to get a kid, to jump the line with money. Kind of like if you want an organ, you buy the organ. I mean, what kind of world do we live in? But it's not unheard of. So I don't know what happened to Caitlyn's baby, but I do know she was pregnant when she went missing. That I got very, very, very strongly. So the energy of all of this is very interesting with the backstory, because it's almost like no one wants anyone talking, because no one has put that. We should be looking for this woman, all of us. We should be looking for every missing person. We should be going through files at police stations of people that have been missing for more than 2 years, and trying as individuals to make our tax dollars work and get the police involved and start doing the research. Because remember, police stations, RCMPs, American police stations, whatever kind of policing service a country has, these are all based on an energy that is connected to the Freemasons. And therefore, they align themselves in every community, every city as an authority. Therefore, people tend to listen to authority. If I call myself authority and you don't check on me, you just assume I'm the authority. We've been ingrained to do that. But I'm going to ask you again to just Google, okay, Google the Fraser River Bridge in Quesnel, British Columbia, okay? Google it, Google the hotel, look at the pictures, and ask yourself, if you jumped off that bridge, wouldn't it, like, just say even within 3 weeks, wouldn't somebody find your body? Because they know you jumped off it. So who told them? Who saw you? What time did they see you? How fast is the river moving? I mean, this is pretty standard stuff nowadays. This isn't like 1726 or something. So what happened? Why are the police aligning and identifying with a scenario that they have no evidence towards? If they do have evidence, they haven't presented it publicly. Where is the evidence that this woman took her own life? She was in a domestically violent relationship that ended, and she retracted and got her clothes, pressed charges 2 days before she goes missing. Why is that not being looked into? I'm serious. Why is that not being looked into? Anyway, we're talking about Caitlyn Avril Murray. I'm going to keep saying her name. I want to raise the vibration. She went missing on September 30th, 2013 from, and I've got to keep looking at it, the Fraser Inn Hotel. I can hardly say it. It drives me crazy. And she was seen parking there, crossing the road, walking from the west entrance of the Fraser River Footbridge. Cameras caught her. From that point on, cameras conveniently aren't working, or not serviced, or not on the right loop, or can't record, and she goes missing. Nothing. Not those Lululemon leggings, not her blue hoodie, not the necklace she's wearing, not her cigarettes, not her cell phone, not her keys, not her shoes, her socks, her undies, her bra, not her hair, not a thread, nothing. Not a hair on her chinny chin chin, to quote that stupid fairy tale. I don't know why that just came up. That's a German thing again. Or no, that's the Wizard of Oz. No, what is that? The wolf. The wolf. See, I don't even know them. It just came out of my mouth like that. Nothing. So who knows? And is the older woman dressed as a wolf, the woman that bakes the pies, bakes the baking, the sugar goods, singing, ignoring? Somebody knows. Pay attention. Let us know what happened to Caitlyn. I'm going to put all the information underneath this video so you can contact Carmen, you can contact the RCMP, you can do your own investigations. If you live in the city of Quesnel, British Columbia, you can actually probably even know the boyfriend, Tony Cole, the family, the friend, Bailey Hornfeld. You know these people. If you live in that neighborhood, you probably are familiar with them. Ask them to tell you what happened. Ask them to go over it. Maybe two brains work better than one. This young woman needs to be found, and it's not acceptable to say she jumped off a bridge with no evidence. Not acceptable. And once again, this is my first video on this missing young woman, and my name is Sloan from SloanBella.com.